Hello students, welcome to the third video of topic 2 from module 2. In the previous video, we studied AWS Lambda destinations. We studied what a Lambda destination is and why we use it. We also explored the various AWS services that we can use as a destination. In this video, we will study the AWS Lambda execution environment and its lifecycle. AWS Lambda invokes a function in the execution environment and provides a secure and isolated runtime environment. The execution environment takes care of the resources required to run our function. It also provides lifecycle support for the function's runtime and any external extensions associated with our function. The function's runtime communicates with AWS Lambda with the help of Runtime API. Extensions communicate with Lambda with the help of Extension API. These extensions can also receive the log messages from the function by subscribing to logs with the help of Logs API. When we create our Lambda function, we specify configuration information such as the amount of memory available and the maximum execution time allowed for our function. This information is then used by Lambda to set up the execution environment. Lambda execution environment lifecycle. The Lambda execution environment includes three phases: init, invoke, shutdown. Init. The init phase prepares the environment to invoke AWS Lambda. In this phase, the Lambda function downloads the code, initializes the extension with the runtime environment, and loads the code in the environment. The init phase works in three phases: extension init, start all extensions; runtime init, bootstrap or load the runtime; function init, execute the function's static code. These phases ensure that the extensions and the runtime complete their setup tasks before the function runs the code. Invoke. When a Lambda function is invoked for a next API request, Lambda sends an invoke event to the runtime and then to the extensions. The function's timeout setting restricts the duration of the entire invoke phase. For example, if we set the function timeout for 360 seconds, the function and all extensions must be executed completely within those 360 seconds. This duration is the sum of the runtime and extensions. It is calculated only after the function and all extensions have finished executing. There is no independent post-invoke phase. The invoke phase will end when the runtime and all extensions notify that they are done by sending a next API request. After the invoke phase, the Lambda environment is kept alive until the AWS Lambda decides to stop it. The shutdown phase is triggered when the AWS Lambda decides to stop it. In case the Lambda function crashes during the invoke phase, Lambda resets the execution environment and the reset behaves like a shutdown event. Shutdown. When the Lambda function does not receive any invocations for a certain period of time, shutdown phase is triggered. In this phase, Lambda shuts down the runtime, signals the extensions to stop gradually, and then removes the environment. Lambda sends out a shutdown event to each extension, informing the extension that the environment is about to shut down. If the Lambda does not receive a response within 2 seconds after the events are sent, it terminates the processes. So this is how the Lambda execution environment lifecycle works. In our next video, we will study the performance optimization of Lambda, cold start and warm start. We will also study the methods to optimize the cold start.